Zanzi, this time around I'm back in Limpopo province. I'll be talking to a young self-made farmer, Emmanuel Mudau. He's been delving in sheep genetics. I want to find out how that has assisted his sheep in terms of fighting the pests and diseases that are endemic in this particular area. Should be an interesting conversation. Manuel.
Hi, Tony.
How's it, brother?
No, I'm good. No, you're welcome to Mathuba Genetics farm.
Fantastic. Thanks for letting us spend some time with you. Can I buy you a coffee before we start?
No, you're more than welcome.
All right, let's do that. Let's do that. So, Emmanuel, let me find out a little bit about your childhood and how you ended up looking at farming.
What I can say, Tony, it's very simple. But what I can tell you is farming to me is a calling.
Yeah.
Because I never went to school or get any training. But I had passion from my young age when I was still doing the pigeons. And I was doing the chickens, and I had a lot of dogs. That's where everything started. My dad and my mom separated when I was very young, and I was raised by my only dad, and we were staying in a shack. My dad supported me a lot, though he didn't have low knowledge or understand this farming thing. He was working at the Skumansdal Museum. It was the museum around here in Limpopo where they keep the Afrikaner cattle.
Yeah.
They keep the Nguni cattle. They also keep the Mbuzi, the ones that I'm farming with now.
Yeah.
He was looking after those goats there, but he never had passion of having his own, but he will support everything that I do. He will buy me pigeons if I want to.
Yeah.
He will buy me chickens if I want to. So he was always supportive.
So tell me, when did you decide that you wanted to do your own thing?
No, I decided that when I was working at the furniture shop. I have this calling of farming. Every time when I'm sitting alone, it comes to me, I want to do farming, but how, I didn't know. I started to buy these books, the magazines of farming there in the supermarket. But I found out that it was completely different. Farming is not about the theory, it's about practicals.
Yeah.
You will just have a highlight or a clue of what I'm gonna face here.
Yeah.
But practical experience is the most important thing. So that's where I resigned from work and say, no, I want to go and do my own business when it was 2007. There were no of these opportunities where today people can Google on YouTube, you can see the videos and all those things.
Yeah.
By that time, things were tough. So, but at least it opened me, and then I got some contacts from other white farmers, and then I started to contact them and then to get some knowledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you end up looking at genetics, getting into genetics? How did that happen?
Passion is what drives me to have my own genetics, because I was inspired by other people's work, and then I was learning from them. And then if you don't focus on genetics when you are a breeder, you can't breed. And then it came, I think it was 2010, when I was doing the Damara sheep, and then I went to visit some farmers, and then I saw they were talking about genetics, and the meeting genetics. I started to ask, what is genetics? What is exactly the genetics? Then I went to read about genetics, and then I said, no, this thing I can do it myself. It's not something that is very difficult. Then that's where it started, and then we're doing the very, very good genetics now.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And the other thing that you're also passionate about is teaching young kids. I know here on your farm, there are youngsters coming from TVS universities to do their practicals. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to leave when I pass on is my knowledge. What I'm doing today, I don't want to go with it, because without farming, we cannot survive. And the only way to create more farmers is when you allow them, give them space to come to you, and you teach them. Then they go and practice it elsewhere. So we get students that are staying with us. Some they come for 2 years internship programs. Some they come for 12 months. Some they come for 6 months. And we also do our own 3 days training course, where if you come and you want to start with goat farming, we teach you, we give you all the basic, the medications, everything we teach you and show you. But our main focus is the practical experience. That's where I specialize, with the practical experience, because I'm with the goat day and night. I know all the behavior, I know all the diseases. No one taught me. I taught myself because of I see them every day. I'm not a part-time farmer. Sometimes I sleep at the farm for so many times. I'm at the farm, so I know what goes does at night, what goes does during the day. So that's why I do good on the experiences.
Yes.
To train them. So we always here at the farm almost every week we've got students even from the secondary schools. They come here to do the practicals, and then that's the only way that I can give out this knowledge.
So Emmanuel, I mean, I'm listening to you talk, I can see that faith plays a big part in your life, in your operation, everything that you do.
Yes, no, that's very, very true. You know, faith, it's without God, actually, we cannot be anything. Because if you can check what brought me here today from nothing, it's because of faith. If I didn't have faith, I was not going to be here. So sometimes you get animals that are very sick and then you can't do anything. Then you need to have faith and pray so that God can help those animals, because you can be a farmer, but God controls the animals. He's the one who created them. So we also need God. So it's only through faith that maybe today we are sitting here talking.
Yeah, because there are so many things, you know, that you don't control, is basically what you're saying.
Yes.
Fantastic. Emmanuel, are you ready now to show me through your farm, and we'll talk about the genetics issue as well?
No, you are more than welcome. We can go around and then I show you everything. Maybe you will learn and be a farmer one day.
One day, eh?
Yes.
So early on, we spoke to Emmanuel, found out exactly why he started doing what he's doing. It's an amazing, amazing story. Now I want to find out why he loves indigenous animals so much. What makes them so hardy to the conditions and the pests in this particular area? So that's coming up next. Stay with us on African Farming. So Emmanuel, time to talk about your operation here. I can see you're doing fantastic things here. But talk to me first about your sheep. Why did you decide to mess around with genetics?
I've been farming with other sheep. I tried the Dopa at first, and then I tried the Damaras, and then I moved with the Damaras. So, but the challenge is here is because of we've a lot of hot water. And the Damaras, they come from Namibia, where maybe there's no hot water and there's a desert and everything. So here in the Bushveld, they were struggling. So that's where I've started with the Peri. The Peri sheep, I moved to the Peri, and then with the Peri sheep, it's a good sheep, it's an African sheep, nothing wrong with them, and then they are originally from here in Limpopo, in Sekhukhune. But the challenge with the Peri, it was the carcass. They've got all the qualities, but the problem is the meat. And what people want is meat. So that's where we started this Bosvelder sheep. And then we put in the Dorper and the Fanroy. Then the Dorper, if you can check, their carcass is the best of the best. Okay. And then also the Fanroy, they've got good milk. It's a tall sheep. They can walk distance and all those things. So, but with the Peris, they've got all the qualities. That's why we took 50% of a Peri, and then 25 Fanroy and 25 Dorper. And then that's a composition, and then we make a Bosvelder sheep, which is very popular now. My sheep, we don't deworm them. Yeah. We only dip them when we have heavy load of ticks, because here in our area we've got a lot of ticks. But otherwise, if there is no reason to do it, we don't do it. Yeah. We need animals that are functional, efficient, animals that will be able to give me more money than me giving them money. Yeah. But if every time I must vaccinate, every time I must deworm, every time I must inject, then the medications are so expensive. Yeah. And then their fertility is very high, and then their natural resistance in the parasite, it's very, very high. We are good with them.
You've almost created the perfect sheep, haven't you?
Yeah, no, the Bosvelder is the perfect sheep. I cannot farm with any other sheep anymore. Yeah. You see, and I cannot advise you or anyone to farm with any other sheep than Bosvelder. It is not anything special that makes you a farmer. It's the breed that you are farming with. Because otherwise, the reason why you can call me a farmer is because of my animals are healthy and my animals are shining. You see, So that's why I'm called a farmer, because of the breed.
Yeah, 100%. You've also got goats on your farms. On your farm here, you've got chickens. Talk to me about the goats. What's your plan there?
There is a big shortage of goat meat, and then I don't think I will solve it or anyone can solve it, but we are trying. The one of the reasons why we are farming with goat is one is to protect our African indigenous goat, which is the mbuzis. So we are trying to preserve all the best genetics of the mbuzis in the country. And then, you know, they are also low on maintenance, very, very, very low. But our main focus at the end of the day is to make sure that maybe goat meat is available in the stores or in the supermarket. That's the only, because at the end of the day, we are farming for meat. There is no any other thing.
So Emmanuel, one of the biggest problems that farmers have locally is stock theft. Do you have the same issues?
Yeah, we had that problem in 2018 and 2019 when we moved to this farm.
Yeah.
But we introduced the Anatolian dogs. Since I've introduced them, we had cases. They bite a lot of guys who were trying to steal our goats. Even in the bush, they work with our sheep and goats. And then everyone knows, the rumors are all over that if you go to Mathuba, you must be ready to die because there are dogs there. So, and we're also very close to the police station, where the police at night, they come here and monitor. They patrol always. We've got a very good relationship.
I know you're keeping a lot of pigeons. You've been doing that for a bigger part of your life, but you're still doing it. Why?
You know, the one thing about my pigeons is I can't live without them. I can live without anything but not my pigeons, because that's where my farming started. That's where I practiced the genetics when I was young. I was combining them and doing all these things, but in the name of color and all those things as I was young. But now they look after my crawls together with the African indigenous chickens, the Veld chickens. We've got a lot of Veld chickens here. They work together with our pigeons. They eat everything that is here, the insects, everything that is in the crawls, the flies, everything that is in the crawls. That's why you don't see a lot of flies in our area. It's because we control them with the chickens and the pigeons. When my goats are out and my sheep are out during the day, the crawls are empty. What you will see inside the crawls everywhere is the pigeons. They will be all over. You will think maybe these crawls belongs to them. When my goats and sheep comes back, and then the chickens, they will go and check if there are ticks there, and then they will be picking up the ticks. You will see them walking around the crawls checking if they came back with the ticks, because to them it's food, you see. So that's why we are keeping them.
You know, I'm picking up one thing from you, and it's a theme about indigenous animals. From mbuzi to pigeons and so forth, everything for you is indigenous, to your chickens as well. Yes,
you know, the African indigenous animals or anything, it's good. You can check even on the cattle, even everywhere. They are hardy. That's what I want, actually, because I believe in the indigenous animals than any other thing. That's my first thing that I will consider.
100%. All right, but you are looking to diversify a little bit into logistics. Why?
You know, at some point when the business is growing, you need to diversify. Then when this one is not working, then this one is working. And as you grow, the responsibility always grows. Then you when you start, you didn't have kids. Then now you've got kids, you've got family. You need to feed them. You need to do this, and then there are so many responsibilities. But you need to diversify that. You cannot sell goat every day. There are sometimes, like now it's a lambing season, you don't have money, and then you need money, but the goats, they've got lambs, they are pregnant. You cannot sell them while they are pregnant. So that's why you need to get some other business that will be generating income to help this business.
So Emmanuel, if I could give you 100 million rand today, what would you wish for, or what would you do with it for your farm?
Now I will build up the farm and then employ more people to fight hunger. That's what my farming is about. I want to fight poverty through farming. If I get money today, I will employ a lot of farmers, and I will buy a lot of animals and create a lot of work.
Through disciplined learning and a desire to breed only the best, Emmanuel has made a name for himself and for his Bosvelder sheep. And just like his sheep, who are hardy enough to withstand the pests of this region, I'm pretty sure Emmanuel will overcome any challenge that comes his way.
Welcome back to African Farming Mzansi. Emmanuel Mudau is a self-starter, a salt-of-the-earth kind of farmer. His tenacity to make his operation a success is matched only by the tenacity of his animals to withstand the conditions and pests in his area. As always, we've gathered some of the top industry experts to share their knowledge with all of us. And today we're going to be talking about pests and parasites. Let me welcome my guests. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Nico from Standard Bank, are you well?
Well, thank you, Tony.
Dr. Mathuba Genetics from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. You are the Director of Animal Health.
Correct.
Welcome, and you're here on invitation from Flay Central.
Thank you for having me.
Joining us. Of course, as always, what are we now? We're buddies in this, aren't we?
I think we are now.
We are. Hey? All right. Welcome, Praveen, as always.
Thanks so much, Tony.
And also Karen Shacklock. Thank you so much from AfriVet.
Hi, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you with us. Okay, let's start. Nico, let me maybe come to you. I mean, it's weird when we talk about pests and parasites from a financial perspective, but that can really damage an operation, can't it? Financially.
Absolutely. I think the important thing about pests and diseases, whilst you focus on the actual pest and disease, it culminates into the financial performance of your business down the line. And if it's not controlled up front, the effects later down the line can be severe. Therefore, it's quite important that the control up front is managed quite well.
Very true. Dr. Maja, let's talk about we've got the pests themselves, but ultimately those pests are running around spreading diseases as well. So there's a bigger effect, isn't there?
There is a much bigger effect over and above pests being a nuisance and irritating the animals, preventing them from feeding properly. They also transmit diseases, most of which we are very worried about, some of which actually even affect people. We call them zoonoses.
So it's not just the animals, it's people as well that
Correct.
need to be aware. Okay. Karen, from the AfriVet perspective, we're talking about diseases, we're talking about these particular pests. So how can one counter? Are there innovative ways one can look at?
Absolutely, Tony. So pests and parasites of animals fall into two categories. They're either internal, like worms and coccidia, or external parasites, ticks, flies, mites, lice. And as Dr. Maja pointed out, they can be very destructive. So there are many medicines out there that farmers can make use of to control parasites, but they need to do that responsibly and carefully, because we see more and more resistance developing to the products that we're using to treat our parasites in our livestock. So they need to follow the dosage instructions very carefully. And if you can't guesstimate the weight of your animal, there are weight bands that can be used to help with that. And then if you're dipping animals for ticks, using the correct dose is really important so that those ticks don't become resistant to that product.
Okay, we were talking about animals there, but we can also look, it's the same thing with crops, isn't it, Praveen?
Absolutely. The pest damage on crops is quite relevant. As Nico was talking about the financial damage that can result out of that. I mean, we've seen how total crops can be wiped out in certain instances. So it's very important for early detection. Make sure that, you do your scouting as regularly as possible. So you pick up problems, start spraying as soon as you need to. And as Karen said, responsibly. Similar for crops, because remember, that's a food product that you're growing ultimately. That's somebody's meal. So make sure that the types of chemicals you're applying, make sure you know the effects of the active ingredient that you're using. And I know I've spoken about it before, but water sources running through your farm that communities rely on, make sure that those active ingredients are not detrimental to the water, making sure that you're also looking out for the community's well-being, not just the crop on land.
Doctor, from that perspective, from a community perspective, and also from a Department of Agriculture perspective, what are you doing in terms of getting that knowledge out to communities? Because we're talking about communal farmers as well here, not just commercial farmers that will be affected by pests and parasites.
We have foot soldiers on the ground, we have extension officers, we have animal health technicians, we also have veterinarians on the ground advising farmers how to manage, how to prevent, and how to treat these pests in their respective herds.
Okay, so there is work being done on the ground.
There's a lot of work being done on the ground, yes.
100%. Nico, as well, I mean, if you're dealing with farmers on a financial perspective, you must also be sitting down with farmers and saying, listen, be aware of this, this is how you may be able to, to counter this financially?
Yeah, I think one of the financial pests, if I can call it that, is cash flow. It normally goes along with growth, and growth eats cash. And then halfway through that process, you get yourself in a very difficult position because you did not focus on those things. And when you add the actual issues of pests coming into play in specifically animals and as Praveen said in the crop side of things, then suddenly there's an extra expenditure that needs to be catered for. And suddenly your cash flow takes a knock. So it's critically important that everything you do, you have to go back in the evening and to go and plan and see what it's going to do to your cash flow in 2-3 months' time.
Okay, good piece of advice. Karen, coming to you, how critical is it to always test and diagnose?
Sure, Tony. Our country has been in the throes of many animal health challenges this season. And so farmers are losing a lot of animals. So I think that when their herd is being affected, they're losing a lot of animals, they need to reach out for help. As Dr. Maja mentioned, there are a lot of foot soldiers on the ground that are available for farmers to reach out to help with diagnoses. And then when we're dealing with control diseases and the national herd is at risk, then diagnostic tests become quite important as well.
Right, let me get a last piece of advice. So just a last comment, Doctor, from yourself.
In all we do, we need to keep in mind that food safety is one to consider. So let's observe the withdrawal periods.
Praveen, from yourself.
We've seen recent outbreaks of pests. We know we need to control them, but let's be responsible when we do it.
And Karen, last word from yourself.
Tony, I'd like to encourage our farmers to make use of the wealth of resources they have at their disposal, from training and veterinary assistance in private companies and the state.
And our finance man, Nico, your last word.
I think pest and disease can cause deviation in terms of profit and cash flow. Make sure that you understand that and that you replan accordingly.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody, for your wise words, and thank you for being on African Farming.
Thanks for having us.
So there you have it. Emmanuel Mudau took a leap of faith into farming, and he hasn't looked back ever since. May the mosquito of doubt and the tick of despair never darken his doorstep. Well, there you have it, Mzansi. Make sure you join us online, #African Farming, or you can catch us on our website, africanfarming.com. And remember, we farm better together.